Atmos Audio Podcast Network.
Imagine this. The best pasta sauce you have ever tasted sits abandoned on a plate. Wasted sauce. That is a tragedy. If only you had used Barilla al Bronzo pasta. Its bronze-cut texture holds your sauce and scoops up every last drop. The Italians call that scarpetta. Capture sauce the Italian way. Barilla al Bronzo. Click or tap the banner to find out more.
Meta AI is the personal AI to help you with whatever you need. Plus, it meets you where you are. Not only is Meta AI now an app, but it's also on the apps you already know and love. Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger. Plus the Ray-Ban Meta glasses. It's easy to access wherever you are. So whether you're talking or texting, Meta AI is convenient to use throughout your day. Experience our newest AI that's tailored to you by downloading the Meta AI app. Try the Meta AI app today on the Apple App Store and Google Play.
On the morning of June 14th, in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota lawmaker Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark and their dog Gilbert were murdered in their own home by a man pretending to be a police officer. The man fled when confronted by law enforcement. He had already been to several other people's homes. He had shot 2 other people, and he was finally captured alive. This event has shaken everyone in Minnesota, to say the least. Mm-hmm. Kelley and I in particular are friends with one of the children, and knowing them, it just really, this couldn't have happened to nicer people.
Compounds it so much. It
was unnecessary. It was planned. It was a targeted political assassination. And it was a crime of stoking fear in the people who are trying to stand up for what's right.
Yeah. By targeting people that were doing great things.
The Lord's work.
For our state.
Truly. So I just feel like we can't not address this. So what I would like to do is read the statement that was released by Melissa and Mark's children. We did share on our social media. Mm-hmm. It did bring me some comfort because I know Kelley and I, when we found out, the first thing we were asking ourselves, well, what do we do? What are we supposed to do? What can we do?
Yeah, like what can we do?
And the answer is really nothing, but their kids, Melissa and Mark's kids, were raised very well by them and are leading by example, and they gave us an answer as to what to do. So if you're also struggling with what to do right now, here you go. We are devastated and heartbroken at the loss of our parents, Melissa and Mark. They were the bright lights at the center of our lives, and we can't believe they are gone. Their love for us was boundless. We miss them so much. We want everyone to know that we are both safe and with loved ones. We are grateful for the outpouring of love and support we have received, and we appreciate your respect for our family's privacy as we grieve. Our family would like to thank law enforcement for their swift action that saved others and for the coordination across communities that led to the arrest of the man who murdered our parents. We especially would like to thank the officers who were first on the scene to our parents' home and their heroic attempts to rescue our mom and dad. Our parents touched so many lives, and they leave behind an incredible legacy of dedication to their community that will live on in us, their friends, their colleagues, and coworkers, and every single person who knew and loved them. If you would like to honor the memory of Mark and Melissa, please consider the following. Plant a tree. Visit a local park and make use of their amenities, especially a bike trail. Pet a dog. A golden retriever is ideal, but any will do. Tell your loved ones a cheesy dad joke and laugh about it. Bake something, bread for Mark or a cake for Melissa, and share it with someone. Try a new hobby and enjoy learning something. Stand up for what you believe in, especially if that thing is justice and peace. Hope and resilience are the enemy of fear. Our parents lived their lives with immense dedication to their fellow humans. This tragedy must become a moment for us to come together. Hold your loved ones a little closer. Love your neighbors. Treat each other with kindness and respect. The best way to honor our parents' memory is to do something, whether big or small, to make our community just a little better for someone else. And I just thought that was really beautiful. And I have definitely pet a lot of dogs. Mm-hmm. And I definitely took advantage of our community's lovely bike trails.
Aww.
And I volunteered. So I got 3. For the sake of everyone else, I probably shouldn't bake something.
Yeah.
I just no, it's just been incredibly sad. I also want to really extend our appreciation to our patrons. We canceled our happy hour because that was the evening of the vigil. It was just really important to attend that. So thank you for your patience and understanding. Also, everyone, thank you for your patience and understanding. I know we were kind of AWOL for a bit. There was a combination of medical issues and then this.
Mental health issues.
And then,
even before this.
Yeah, and then,
And then this.
So it's been
a lot.
Yeah. But we're very thankful for you. We're thankful for our loved ones. We're thankful for all of the amazing work that Melissa and Mark did. And we are just hoping for justice and peace from here on out. And
thankful
especially
for each other too.
Especially for their family.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm thankful for you, Kelley.
I'm thankful for you. And yeah, I think that is the important thing is, one, not letting the fear win, but also not letting this become a point to fight about, but to be more of a point to fight for ending things like this, because this shouldn't be something to fight about, regardless of what side you're on or what you believe in. Murder is senseless, and there is no reason for it. And so I for one believe, regardless of your beliefs, this should be looked at as a senseless tragedy that we should be doing everything to prevent anything like from happening in the future.
I think people's responses to this event have been and will continue to be very telling. I'm just going to leave it there.
I think that's a good way to say it.
I think a lot of people are going to tell us who they are with how they respond to this, or how they have responded or not. So, speaking of family and keeping them close, we had the distinct pleasure to share dinner with sister of the podcast, Caitlin, and her lovely family.
Yes, it was a lot of fun.
Her 2 sons, who
are, at least one is very much enamored with Emily now.
He loves my tattoos. That is also Christmas, Halloween. That's the kid who came up with that. So I'm just like, I'm glad you're growing up to be such a cool kid, because I still quote you from when you were like,
exactly. Like,
2.
Thank you for continuing to be an awesome child.
Even my partner quotes it. Like every time we see Christmas or Halloween, we just both go, Christmas, Halloween, Christmas, Halloween. But we got to go to a really cool play in the cities called Mae West and the Trial of Sex. And it was a historical play based on before Mae West became like a star on the silver screen.
Yep.
She was a Broadway actor and playwright. And with the stricter censorship laws of the time.
Yeah, she was kind of the central figure of it in New York.
Yeah, and she had a play called Sex. She was trying to get another play off the ground that featured drag queens, and she fought it. Legally, she fought it, and unfortunately she lost. But the play was really amazing. The company was amazing.
And if you don't know a lot about Mae West, look her up. She's amazing. She's a little bit too famous for our podcast, but
we've mentioned her before. But here's the thing. I
think we've covered people that ran in the circles but weren't as famous as she was.
Yeah, and it's so funny because we haven't covered her because she's too famous, but also I didn't know shit about any of this.
I learned the people that put on the plays. It was a very small black box theater style play. And it was very they would make eye contact with the audience, and we were kind of brought into the play. And I think there was a cast of 8 people, maybe 8 or 9. It was a very small cast, but they were all fantastic. And I learned so much.
Everyone played like 5 different characters at least and used upwards of 4 different accents, like good accents.
Oh yeah, and it was like you could very distinctly tell when they were playing a different character. It wasn't just like, oh, this is the same actor and like whatever.
They
and
changed their hats.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. But yeah, I also learned a lot about Mae West and just like different things going on at the time.
Well, and also it was also really, I mean, that's the point of the play, is to be kind of unsettling, because so much of what they were talking about is stuff that we are dealing with today, and like censorship laws and, you know, protecting the purity of the public, when it's really just an excuse to attack anyone who's like not strictly conforming to nuclear family ideals. It's just, well, and so there were so many times like the 3 of us are sitting there and we all just look at each other like, I'm gonna hit someone.
But I think the extra cool thing is this is a play that it wasn't written for like this company or anything. This company was just performing it, but they did like talk about the writing of it. And I think it's cool that the person who did write the play, whose name I don't know offhand,
I'll see if I can look it up,
wrote it using court documents and like memoirs from the time. And they did add a little bit of modern language, but most of it's like that language. And I just think it's so cool that they like it's a little bit, you know, like over dramatized, but like the fact that they used actual court documents and like stuff like that, and that's really what it's based around, I think is just really awesome.
Yeah, so I've got the page up here, so just so we can give all the necessary shout outs. It was performed at the Crane Theater, which is a really cool space. Mae West and the Trial of Sex, written by John Heimbuch, or it could be I'm gonna go with my instincts. John Heimbuch, directed by Allison Vincent. Extra, provocative playwright Mae West runs afoul of Broadway censors. Her popular play Sex, rated for obscenity. Tammany Hall claims it was necessary to prevent West's new homosexual drama, The Drag, from corrupting the youth of New York. So yeah, she's trying to get this other play called The Drag off the ground.
I like want to go see it again.
Her play
it's done now,
Sex,
but I want to go see
her
it
play
again.
Sex is like hugely popular, but people were like, oh my God, it's obscene. It's like, you know, adults can make their own fucking choices.
And Sex was about like, it was a
sex worker who was following sailors.
Yeah. And then was trying to like turn her life around and like actually like be someone, and how like challenging it was, which I'm like, that is such an interesting concept.
Yeah.
That was one thing we said. We were like, I would have watched both of these plays that are within the play.
I'm just saying. Well, Sex is due for a revival.
Oh, yeah.
The Drag, I don't think was ever performed because it got shut down.
No, it was just not in New York. Because, like, remember?
That's right.
Yeah. Like, they went to a few other, I think they played in Kentucky, which I think is kind of funny.
They were making their way
to New York, and they never made it.
Yeah, but
I want someone needs to find these old scripts, and we need to get them back on the stage.
The things I would do if I had Jeff Bezos money.
Yeah. Oh God.
The shit I would finance.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
That wouldn't be stupid and phallic.
Exactly.
Or it'd be phallic in like a really fun way.
Yeah, it'd be phallic in like a good way.
Like a sex positive way instead of an overcompensating for my lack of masculinity way. Anyway, it was really good. It was a part of, let me see, Pride Minneapolis is like larger offering of programs and events. It was really amazing. And Caitlin, who went with us, sister of the podcast, gifted us this lovely bottle of wine. I forgot we started this talking about wine, and we've just we made it back.
So the vineyard was recently sold, so they don't know the owner anymore, but they used to know the owner of this vineyard. And so that's how we came about. And it was a woman-owned vineyard. It was the Alexis Bailey Wine Club is what the bottle's from, or the Alexis Bailey Vineyard, and it's Frontenac Gris, which I will say, me and Emily had the same moment when we first saw the bottle from a distance, and we thought it said Frontenac Girls.
That's right.
It doesn't.
No, it's like Greece, like gray in Spanish.
It's Greece. Yeah. It is an orange wine, which is pretty exciting. I don't think we've had one of those, and because it's from like a local vineyard, it doesn't have a description. So it is what it is.
Its whole description is just everything we said about Mae West and the Trial of Sex.
It does say for sale in Minnesota only.
Yeah, so try getting this outside of our gorgeous North Star state.
Hell yeah.
For a second, I was like, wait, what is our state thing again?
Yeah, Texas gets mad about it, and I think it's funny.
They're so far south. They don't get to be north anything.
I know. But
God.
They just get, I don't know why they get so upset about
They can
it.
They're the Lone Star state.
Exactly. They're like, the star is our thing. And it's like, it's a star. You know how many stars are in the sky, Texas?
Also, which one of us was a state first? Just saying.
Yeah.
First come, first serve, bitch.
But so here's to Mae West. Here's to the Hortmans. Here's to hopefully things getting better.
Here's to everyone who just like really fucking needs it right now.
Cheers.
Cheers. I really like this wine.
It's not as like orange flavor heavy as I was expecting.
And I'm glad for that though.
But it is really good.
I was thinking it might be like a wine dreamsicle, but it's almost like kind of floral. Hold on,
I'm gonna see if the internet has a description.
I took one wine tasting class, and so now I'm gonna pretend like I know everything.
Swirl.
Yep, gotta swirl. Gotta sniff it first. Get a little huff in there. Yeah, it's almost like I almost want to say like buttercup flowers. Like it's that light floral bouquet. It's very springy. And it's real good. It's good shit.
So it is considered a rosé, which makes sense. That website did not have
maybe it's an
thing either. Oh, that's about the winemaker. That's not what I want. I mean, it's cool, but not what I'm looking for right now.
Maybe it's an orange-zé.
Orange-zé.
Instead of a rosé.
Maybe.
Naranjasé.
It is literally only for sale in 2 places in Minnesota.
God damn.
Which is, one is the vineyard itself, and then one is Ace Spirits in Hopkins, Minnesota.
This might actually be the rarest wine we've gotten our hands on then.
Yeah.
Because where the hell is Hopkins? Isn't that around the cities?
Do you want to say it's like north of the city?
Like, I'm not going to buy it. I can't find this wine.
Yeah,
Where
like
the hell
we'd
did I
have to
find
like
this wine?
special order it.
Oh my God.
That's really cool.
I think this is actually probably, other than that Canadian wine that Chelsea got us, because we can't get Canadian wine in any variety for shit here. This might
stupid.
be, this is like one of the rarest bottles that we've ever drank. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah. Well, and like, I'm sure because, yeah, it's like a local vineyard. I bet it's kind of like if you get something at Four Daughters here, like if you get their like Moscato this year, next year it might taste different because it's local and it's small batch and you know, like, so yeah, I think it's really cool. But even online I can't. Oh, I can't find like a description of it. It's good though. Like that's my description. It's good.
Also, I think it was very appropriate. So Caitlin, sister of the podcast, she has been on the podcast before. If you're like, that's a bit of a deep cut.
It's been a while, yeah.
I think it was like right when she told us she was pregnant with Little W. Yeah. I'm going to call him Wee W.
God, he's
and then Christmas,
turning,
Halloween.
what, 3?
Yeah. But I also just want to say, like, it is Pride Month. We have been celebrating in our own way, and we are covering, like, you know, LGBTQ plus related people. It also felt very appropriate because I accidentally walked myself into explaining to Christmas, Halloween,
it was so funny
what gay means.
Like, it was really adorable because like Emily's just talking like she normally does, and yeah, she was talking about a gravestone she saw of someone.
Because I need to point this out. Christmas, Halloween, he's spooky.
Yeah,
he's
really fantastic.
He really liked my skeleton tattoo. I showed him the gravestone that like I got the idea from, and Caitlin's like, oh, he really loves spooky stuff. I was like, oh my God, I was just at this really old cemetery. Let me show you some graves. I'm showing him this one grave, and it's got a bunch of rocks on top of it that people have left as tributes, and I'm explaining that. I was like, oh, this is something that people do at gravestone, you know?
Yeah, and she mentioned like people didn't like him or like something about like they're gay and so like they're in a specific corner of the cemetery or something, and he's like, what does gay mean? And I was like I knew you'd explain it well, but like I purposely didn't fully turn to look at you, but I was like side-eyeing. I was like, and yeah, your face was just like, you had this moment of like, not like I shouldn't tell him, but like kind of that look of like, how do I tell him in a way that one is going to make sense because he's not that old, but like two, isn't like weird or like, anything like that.
Or stigmatized.
Exactly.
Like, there was a lot of quick writing going on in my head.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it's one of those things like we know
how I'll come up with
Sister of the Podcast well enough to know like she's not going to care if we explain this to her children.
Yes. Yeah. She's very open. She's a really wonderful person. But you know how sometimes I'll like come up with an intro 30 seconds before we hit record and it's like a whole song period. That's what was happening in my head. I know. I
could see it.
I was that math meme lady where I was like the equations are floating around. I was like, okay.
I thought you did a very good job.
Well, I explained it to him. I was like, well, I was like, well, some, gays like when a boy likes a boy or a girl likes a girl romantically, like if you have a crush on someone. He's like, oh, well, what if a boy likes a girl or a girl likes a boy? I was like, well, that's called being straight. And he's like, well, what if you like both? And I was like, well, that's called being bi. And like on fucking cue, Caitlin walks into the room.
As Emily's saying, that's called being bi. Caitlin like walks.
She walks into the room and her son looks at her and sticks out his hand, starts waving and goes, bye. Like the same way we say it on the podcast.
It was
I was like,
so funny.
And I just about died laughing.
Part of me was like, does he listen to us?
I'm like he knows too much. But yeah, no, he was super on top. I was explaining like, well, when you see rainbow, people used to not be nice if you were gay, and when you see rainbow flags, that means we're supportive, and that this is a safe place. And so when and they've got a bunch of them in their neighborhood.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm like, so when you see those, that just means like that person is showing kindness, and that other people are. It was very sweet. It is not the first time I've had to explain what being gay is to a child.
So cute.
That is probably the youngest though.
Yeah, like I mean he's not like too young. He's going to be starting kindergarten.
Yeah.
But like, he's pretty young. And it was one of those things we were talking about it later at drinks after the show. And Caitlin's like, I've probably explained it to him before. He just like doesn't retain that information. Because he's so young that like.
That's why that surprised me. Because I'm like, there's no way you haven't had this conversation with your mom.
Maybe not in so many words, but it's like there's no way you haven't.
On top of it. But yeah, no. So spreading the educate, that was a great way to celebrate Pride Month.
It was great.
Explaining to a 5-year-old like just what being gay is, and that's not. And you know what?
There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, it's just this is just how some people are. Yeah. So,
he's a good kid.
You go first, right?
I do go first.
Okay, great.
Like, thank God.
Well, so my story also has to do a little bit with what we were just talking about in the graves that I was showing.
Okay.
Christmas, Halloween. So I just want to like see if I needed to segue into that or if I could just stop talking.
No, you can just stop talking if you want. I mean, like you don't have to.
Kelley, please just start talking.
Okay, sorry. So I am actually covering someone that is not related to, but tied into another story I just previously covered a few weeks ago. And we'll see. We'll see if you remember. So I'm covering Lucy Diggs Slowe.
She was the longtime partner of the what was her name? I remember I was like, because I remember like making a joke about the name in my head, like, oh, the person you covered, Diggs Slowe, like, because likes her, like digs her, like.
I'm trying to find it in my notes because.
You just let it be a surprise.
It's down a ways.
Just let it be a surprise. Just let it come to me and the listeners.
It's someone I recently covered.
Yes.
So
I know. God, this is.
I know it's bothering me
Here's
too.
The
because
thing.
I'm like, I should know this.
You know what? Just start telling the story, and then I'm just gonna scream it in everyone's ears when it comes to mine. And then I want everyone on this episode to comment if you got it before or after I said it.
Go.
Or if you like knew immediately and you're like, do you guys listen to your own fucking podcast? What the fuck?
Oh yeah. I don't.
Emily
does because she has to edit.
Yeah, Kelley doesn't.
So Lucy was born on the great birthday of our nation, July 4th, 1883.
Ooh.
She was the 7th child of parents Henry and Fanny. Which I love.
I love Fanny, but also it means vagina in British slang. So I'm just like, how do British people view that
Oh God,
name?
that'd be so funny.
Like,
Yeah. The family lived in Berryville in Clark County, Virginia, which I was like, that's fantastic.
I'm sorry. This sounds like the beginning of a children's book.
It did until my next line.
Lucy was born on the 4th of July to Fanny in Berryville. Like, it's all so cutesy and a little sickening. And then everyone died.
I'm going to end it right there.
And everyone died.
Lucy didn't get a chance to really know her parents. Her father died when she was 1, and her mother passed at when she was the age of 6. So she was orphaned pretty young. Martha, her aunt, on her father's side, raised Lucy and her 6 siblings. She brought them to Lexington, Virginia. And then not long after, they moved to Baltimore, Maryland, actually in search of better educational opportunities for the kiddos, which I think is great.
Love that.
So at 13 years old, Lucy would enter the segregated Baltimore school system. Yeah, because she's African American. I feel like I need to throw that in there. Like,
you know what? Here's the thing. I think we all fall prey to this, where we assume the woman is white, unless the name is explicitly, like Anime Wong. I think we could all guess that she wasn't white.
Was the daughter of slave, unless there's something really obvious.
Yeah. And I mean, that's just how we're conditioned. We assume white as the default. That's a sociological thing. We're all victims of it, and we try to do better. But also, we want you to have an accurate picture of who this woman was. And because it's not
I don't want to get halfway through my story and be like, she was dealing with racism, and people be like, wait, she was not white. It's like, no, we're getting this from the beginning.
We're not doing it like she was black,
no,
like that kind of way. It's just like, hey, this is a part of her story and the world that she was growing up in,
and what she was probably dealing with her entire life.
Literally.
Like, considering she's going into a segregated school system, and that's considered the better educational opportunity.
Baltimore has a insane racial history. Like, I really, this has nothing to do with women's history, but if you haven't read the book The Other Westmore, I highly recommend it. It is a story of, it's written by Westmore, who is I think he's the current mayor of Baltimore. But he found out about another man around his age, also named Westmore, who was in prison for murdering someone. And they actually lived like close to each other.
That's terrifying.
They had very similar trajectories that just went in completely opposite directions. And so he wrote this book kind of chronicling his childhood and this other man's childhood. And like he makes it very clear. He's like, I'm not making excuses for this guy.
Right,
He
like,
made choices.
no one's saying anything.
He made choices. He did horrible things. He hasn't taken accountability. He's like, we do need to examine these similar environments, though, and like the issues that children are facing that can lead to these awful outcomes. And like, is there anything that we can do to prevent that or like reverse that trajectory? It's really good, but it gets a lot into like the racial history of Baltimore and like the city's history. It's so fascinating.
Yeah, Baltimore has a really like weird and complicated history in a lot of different ways. But
and my parents met in Baltimore, and like, so I never that was always my reference for it. I was like, Baltimore. My parents met. Edgar Allan Poe. End of story. We're done here.
Yep.
Lobsters or crabs.
So she would do well in school, and 8 years after she started, she would graduate from the Baltimore Colored School because they're not creative. So that was the high school / like post high school, because by the time she graduated, she was 21. So like she went through the entire school system, graduated. She was a few years older than most of her peers because she faced difficulties with learning in her early years. She was originally homeschooled prior to moving to Baltimore. And then when she re-entered the public school system, she didn't do very well. So that's why she's not the traditional like 18 coming out of high school and stuff like that.
I think this is also a really good example of, there are these certain ages that you're supposed to hit milestones by. It's not required. It's not fucking required to graduate high school when you're 18. It's not fucking required to graduate with your bachelor's ever. Or when you're 22 in 4 years, like whatever path you take, if it's the best path for you, you know, or even if it's not the best path, even if there were things completely out of your control that totally change the trajectory of your life.
Like becoming an orphan.
Yeah. You know, you're on your timeline, not anyone else's.
Yeah. So even though she had like a slower start to her schooling, Lucy actually really once she was in the public school and like in an environment that like maybe fostered learning better, she actually really did begin to excel academically. And even though she graduated high school a little bit later than everyone, she was the first female alumni of the Baltimore Colored School to attend Howard University. She received a scholarship to do so. She found her groove and ran with it.
This is also a really good testament to how important early childhood education is and like getting the proper support early on. And, you know, that we definitely don't value that the way that we should. So,
yeah. So at Howard University, because she did go, not only was she focused on her studies, but she was also extremely involved in extracurricular activities. And when I say extremely, I mean she kind of was like me when I was in like middle and high school, in that she tried a little bit of everything, but unlike me, she did really well at most of it. So she was a tennis player and actually became president of the Howard University Women's Tennis Club.
Oh my God. She
also served as vice president and secretary of the Alpha Phi Literary Society. She was also the co-founder of the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority on campus, which was the first sorority developed by and for African-American women and still exists today. I'm pretty sure I talk about it in my Herstory happening in sororities.
Yes.
So, yeah, it was like that one I remember.
It's funny because like I'm hearing you basically write her resume, and I'm like, no wonder I was having a hard time finding a job out of college because I was competing with people like this. It reminds me of our older roommate.
Broom ball.
We did play broom ball.
Great.
I gotta find some pictures and post that on our socials because
we
that
definitely
was
have some.
a time. My hair
Brooke might be in them, but yeah, we definitely have some.
But she kind of reminds me of our old roommate Eli because he was in everything. He was like
shyest, quietest kid you will ever meet. Like half the time didn't even realize he was in the room.
Shockingly introverted, yet literally never in the apartment because he was involved in everything.
Like, it was one of those things like the rest of us would be like watching TV, being the lazy assholes we were.
We were watching Friends while trying to write papers, and he's doing show choir.
Or he would like come home and we'd be like, hey, you want to watch something with us? And he'd be like, no, I'm only home for like 10 minutes until I have to go to this other thing. And it's like, what?
I miss Eli.
We should reach out and just be like, hey,
I just
want to get together and just like chat.
You know, it's one of those things where it's like sometimes people are in your life for a period of time, and you know you don't because of circumstances. Like it's one thing when you're all in college together and living together to like stay in touch, and then when everyone goes in their own separate direction. But there are those people where you're like, no matter what is going on or where you are in your life, you're like, I just really hope they're doing great.
Yeah, and Eli is definitely one of those people.
Yeah, I think about him a lot.
I do too.
Yeah, no, seriously, he was the most introverted extrovert.
I'm really glad that he was able to find himself and like who he wants to be.
Absolutely.
Anyways,
happy Pride, Eli.
Yeah, we still adore you years and years later, even though to death. Yeah, probably.
Like, literally.
We're going to be like 85 on some porch, and me and Emily are going to be like, I hope Eli's doing good.
That kid was great. He was doing fucking everything.
I know.
Jesus.
He's amazing.
He was either in his room painting or out being
and then he worked at Valley Fair in the summers, and I'm like...
That's I think the last time we saw him, we ran into him.
Yeah,
like,
he was like running the ride, and we're like, dude... Oh, that was great.
Eli, if you hear this, just know that we love you, and
seriously,
we hope you're
doing well. We hope
super
you're
happy and kicking
in the
ass.
best way.
I have a feeling he is. I don't think Eli does stuff that he doesn't enjoy.
He does everything quietly, but he does everything.
He does
in the best way.
Yep.
So yeah, she co-founded like that chapter of it, and so their motto is a center for mutual support, activism, and service for generations to come. And obviously that's true because it still exists. And she was the first president after she co-founded it, which valid.
I feel like you automatically get to be the president if you found something.
I mean, but she co-founded it, so like the other person could have been president. Maybe she was gonna be the vice president. It's probably like us when we're like, who goes first? And it's like, you do. Yeah, you're the president.
No. I really want this, and I want it to do well.
But I want you to do better.
But I don't want to have like any part of it right now.
So Lucy would graduate from Howard University. So not only did she do all of the extra things, but she did graduate. She received her bachelor's degree in English. Like a lot of the best people do. And actually graduated as class valedictorian.
Oh my God, girl. Okay, so I found an old shirt that my mom got me when I decided to major in English. On the front, it says poem, P-O-E-M. And on the back, it says professional organization of English majors.
Nice.
And I actually dug that out of my parents' basement recently, and I'm going to turn it into a gym shirt because I don't want to get rid of it. My mom was so proud that I majored in English.
You have 2 lines until I say the name of the other woman. I found her.
Shit. She was an educator, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Was she white?
That's a great question.
Oh my God. It makes me feel better that you also do not know who this person is.
No, she wasn't.
Okay.
I was like, I don't think she was, but like, I didn't want to say no, she wasn't. And like, I was like 95% sure she wasn't, but I was like, what if I'm wrong?
Wait, is she was the writer who talked about Black mental health? Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, I remember her. Oh my God, July is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. Okay, this is how my brain works. I remember everything except the person's fucking name. Give it to me.
Mary Burrell.
Damn it!
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
We all needed that. No, she was the writer, and she wrote, like, her mother was schizophrenic.
On stuff. Yep.
Her daughter might have had, like, a mental health issue, and she did a lot of advocacy for that, and especially,
I don't think she had a daughter. I think you might actually be thinking of the wrong person.
Well, shit. Who the fuck am I thinking of?
Someone else.
Okay, well, I'm gonna look up a picture.
She wrote the plays of.
Oh wait, you're saying Mary Burrell?
Yeah.
Oh, she's a DC gal.
Yep.
Yes.
And she wrote the one about like the parents die and the 17-year-old has to raise her siblings, so like the generational poverty, and then she wrote one about the aftermath of someone being lynched.
That's right.
Sorry,
that's right.
That was my bad. I also got them mixed up. I have covered the other woman that. There was the schizophrenic.
Yes. So actually, Caitlin Calgara of A Tour of Her Own Fame, she was really excited that we covered Mary Burrell because she's a DC gal. And I actually found, I did not buy it because this was like your person.
We're going to go together.
There was a
butt. Buy it then.
Okay. Because
there's a butt.
There's a bust of Mary Burrell that you can get in the
right over there?
Basement gift shop of the Smithsonian Museum for American History. I did buy an Ida B. Wells bust.
That's valid. Yeah.
It was so heavy, and I was like, how the hell am I going to get this back? But it was the only one left.
Yeah, and you're like, I will figure it out.
They had 2 sizes. They had like a cute little one, and then they had like a medium one, and she only came in medium, and I'm just like, you know what? If she's too much for me, I can find less. But she's not.
Yeah, she's like, she is right, the right size.
I'm going to bring her home or die trying.
I would just like to say that we're maybe a quarter into my story, and me and Emily are most of the way through this bottle of wine.
It's been a minute since we've got together.
And it's been a lot.
It's also
been a lot in that minute.
I had a camera stuck up my ass, and I've been very depressed, so I kind of really fucking needed
mostly
this.
just been very depressed and in the bathroom a lot. Probably need a camera stuck up my ass.
The
but
drugs
we're not going
are
there.
So good, Kelley. You just like lean right into it.
You don't remember anything.
Oh,
it's great.
It's amazing.
All right. Back to Lucy.
Okay, now that we know her partner.
After she graduated, she was offered a teaching position at the Douglas High School in Baltimore, and that would be where she met her fellow educator and eventual life partner, Mary Burrell. Yay. Bow, bow, bow. So 3 years later, Lucy decided, you know what? I'm not done. And she goes back to school. She went to the Columbia University's Graduate School of Arts and Sciences in New York, and she would earn her master's degree in English.
Sorry, there's a gnat
I
flying
know, I was
around
like,
Kelly's
what is
face
that?
right now. Tis the season for fruit flies, and we are drinking orange wine. So
in tandem with her graduate studies, because as I was writing the story, I remember thinking this. I was like, Lucy doesn't know when to just do one thing. And it reminds me of a different English major I know.
are you going to like tell me who that is?
You.
No, that's not true.
Emily's like, I don't overbook myself all the time.
I'm incredibly lazy, unambitious, and unmotivated.
So, in tandem with her graduate studies, she also began to look at the field of school administrative studies at the Teachers College of Columbia University. So, she's going for 2 degrees at 2 different schools at the same time.
And one of them is fucking Columbia. If I recognize the name of the school...
One of them is a master's degree.
Yeah, and if I recognize the name of the school, you know it bougie.
As someone who has gone for their master's degree, I'm like, no.
I'm still shocked. Oh, you missed it.
God damn it.
We'll figure it out. I'm still shocked that we were able to keep the podcast going.
I'm very proud of myself.
I kind of feel like at this point, I'm like...
It's gonna take a
lot
fucking,
for us to like shut down, because if we could get through that, there's a lot of shit that we can get through.
Like if we got through COVID, we got through me being in grad school, actually at the same time.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, I think we're gonna be okay.
Yep.
The
failing of our democracy, we got this.
We're fine. So these efforts landed her an opportunity to teach in Washington D.C. at Armstrong Manual High, where her partner worked. So that's nice. It was during this time that they actually became partners and they decided to move in together.
Oh my God, that's such a big step.
So I think I talked about this a lot during Mary's story, but I'm going to talk about it again, that like people who knew them knew that they were a couple, but they weren't like overly like, yep, this is like, we're each other's partners and we love each other outside, because this was a time that was not well accepted. So yeah, like their closest friends and confidants were well aware of their romantic nature and that they were life partners. But professionally, it was probably more just like, oh, we're roommates because it's easier to carpool and like both of us are unmarried, so we're saving money. Like all of those things that historians say happen as excuses for why people aren't partners. It's kind of, they use that to their advantage.
And they were roommates.
Exactly.
If we're plugging our Herstory happenings, we did a whole episode about Boston marriages.
That's a good episode.
Yeah. Really fascinating. Gave me a whole new perspective on like what marriage does and did mean.
Yeah.
And like the things that women gave up to get married, and how, it was super fascinating.
It was a really cool look at like that kind of thing.
Honestly, a Boston marriage is my retirement plan.
I know, right?
I'm just gonna get a commune with a bunch of other ladies, and we're all just gonna like support each other. Like one of us.
I'll be there. Justin can be our IT guy.
I was gonna say
he can just hang out in the background.
I'm gonna be the coffee witch. You'll be the gamer witch. Justin will be the IT witch. We gotta get a tea witch. Egg can be the tea witch.
Egg can be the tea witch.
Yep.
I'll also be the library witch.
There are gonna be so many witches. Yeah, we got this. I'm going to be the cat witch, too.
If you know the witch you would like to be, let us know.
We'll put
you on the sign-up sheet.
We are now taking applications for witches in our funerary retirement cult.
Yeah, there you go. So
we're saggy, baggy, and everything is draggy.
Yeah. So all while making these massive professional and personal strides, one thing she kept from college was Lucy remained a very active tennis player. Which I'm like, yeah, that, like, you think of how, like, I always liked tennis. I wasn't very good at it because I put too much into the balls. But I'm like, you think about, like, how good of a stress reliever tennis is because you, like, get to hit things.
I'm sorry, Kelley. Tell me how much you put into the balls. Tell me more about
way
that.
Way too much.
Can you explain more about what are you putting
hard.
into the balls? Like, what is it exactly?
Anger.
See, that's why I played pickleball recently for someone's birthday, and that was actually fun because you can kind of wail on that ball a little bit.
That would be fun.
Badminton.
Yep,
which
that was
I can
my
never
jam.
say because you can fucking hit the shit out of that thing and it barely moves.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
is
it actually going to go over even though I put like literally everything into it?
It's like I don't have to have the control because this thing is physically incapable of fully accepting my rage.
Yep. So if you remember, in 1915 is when she earned her master's degree. Just 2 years after that, she would actually win the first women's title at the American Tennis Association. This made her the first African-American, period, to win a national title in any sport.
And we've talked about how racist tennis is.
Yeah. Like, I was going to say surprisingly slow, but then I'm like, you know what? No, it's also like really anti-poor people.
It's racist, anti-Semitic, and elitist.
Yeah.
Which is why Althea Gibson and, oh my God, her initials are AB. Why am I blanking on her name? Shit. But she was a Jewish girl. They won the Allison. Shit, I'm going to look this up. But they won the doubles because no one else would partner with either of them. Yep. And they both had barriers because no one would let the Jewish girl practice at their club, and no one would let the black girl practice at their club. And so it was a whole Angela Buxton. That's it. Thank you.
So like I don't mention this really again, but I want to say like Lucy played tennis throughout her life. And throughout her time as a tennis player, she would win 17 tennis championships.
Jesus fucking
So
Christ.
remember, like in the background, while she's doing everything else, she's also being a tennis champion.
I just
saying.
Every now and then when you end a sentence, just be like, and she was a tennis champion.
Exactly.
Just include
and also, she was still a tennis champion. She was an 18, like, so if you add the first one, 18-time tennis champion, 18 times more than I will ever be.
And remind me what year this is. This
is 1917.
Okay, early 1900s. Yeah. That is so fascinating because Althea was born in 1927, died in 2003. Althea has probably knew about.
Oh yeah, she's
Lucy
probably
Diggs
like one
Slowe.
of those like.
But like, as far as like an inspiration goes, but like I always thought I was like, oh my God, what black tennis players did Althea have to look up to? This
Lucy
bitch.
Diggs Slowe.
This bitch.
Yep. So in 1919, the first black junior high opened in DC. That is shockingly like.
Did you say 1918?
1919.
Oh my
like that is shockingly
God.
Recent.
Wait. Was it the first black one because they like were segregated now?
I think they were
or
still segregated.
But there just weren't schools before.
Well, yeah, I think it was like kind of like a one room, like any grade can go to it, especially during segregation. A lot of times they were just like, here's your teacher. Teach whoever fucking shows up, basically.
You know, that must have been such a hard job, especially before like you could just pop in a DVD of Toy Story
we've talked
in
about
Spanish.
like African American schools during segregation a lot of times like didn't have enough books, didn't have enough teachers. Like they were chronically underfunded.
They didn't have shit.
Yeah. But so they opened the first African-American junior high, and Lucy was actually asked to and hired as principal, which I'm like, yeah, that was a good choice.
Love it.
So during her time as principal, she would, and this is a quote, she organized the school, developed curriculum, designed and planned an in-service training system for the teachers, and I think it's supposed to say seduced, and the S got left off. Seduced Columbia University to offer an extension course in education to be able to be attended by African-American teachers and white junior high staff.
They picked the perfect adjective.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Seduced. I love that.
Yeah.
Also, she was like hustling for her teachers. Like professional development is so important for teachers, and they don't always. Damn it, I missed.
I know, you were so close. Oh, I think you got it.
No, I didn't. Damn you! God, it's right here. It's right here.
I know.
God. Okay. I need to take a break. I'm so sorry.
Breathe.
I'm so sorry. This is not.
Okay.
This isn't about me. This is about Lucy.
It's about Lucy.
But yeah, PD is so important for teachers, and especially like in different curriculum eras. Remedial Herstory Project talks about how history teachers get like the least professional development in their area of study,
which is
as
insane.
compared to any other like discipline or like topic.
Yeah.
So Lucy, I love her.
Yeah. So she would be principal for quite a while, actually not that long. She was principal for like 3 years, but I feel like that's a long time to be a principal.
It's longer than I've been principal.
And she had been an educator for many years before that. But during this time, she was offered what would be like a life-changing job opportunity for her. So in 1922, she was offered and took it. She became not only an English professor at Howard University, but she also became the university's first dean of women.
Oh, shit.
So she made history as Lucy was Howard University's first person in general to hold the title of Dean of Women. Like, this was a newly created title, and they wanted her to be the first one.
I love this for her.
I do too.
I love this journey
Also,
for
like,
her.
definitely a good choice.
Absolutely. Yeah, but I like it's like you would expect, okay, Howard University is like, okay, maybe women educate, you know? Maybe we're kind of open to that idea. You think they would pick a white woman.
Oh, exactly.
Obviously, they picked the person who was like best qualified.
Exactly. Like, they were like, okay, like, you've been an educator for a while.
She's also an alum.
You were offered the role of, like, essentially being the principal of this brand new school, and you did all of this shit with it in 3 years. Like, yeah, we want you to not only teach our students, but also, like, by God, like, run, yeah, whatever the dean of women is, which I assume is, like, the person in charge of, like, the women who study at the college.
Yeah, but tell me how she's a DEI hire and doesn't deserve any of this. I'll wait.
Let's not get in that. Jesus, we could go so far. Although they might not have chosen a woman or a white woman because Howard University is a traditionally African-American college.
Oh, is it a historically black? Mm-hmm. Oh, I actually didn't know that.
Yeah. It's
HBCU.
One of, like, the first, I want to say. It's one of the big ones.
Okay, I feel really silly now because I just thought it was like in the Ivy Leagues. I'm like, no, Howard. Everyone's heard of that place. It's like one of those like super fancy, if you're really smart, you go here schools.
I think, yeah. Like, I mean, I do think it is pretty fancy. And I like, yeah, when I Googled it, it says it is a private, federally chartered, historically black research university. And I was like, that's a really long description.
That's why they say HBCU.
Yeah.
Now.
So.
Yep. No, that's interesting. You know, I just learned something new
but
today.
I mean, I guess that doesn't necessarily stop them from hiring white people because it's named after a white person.
Is it?
Yeah, it's named after, because I was looking it up. I don't remember why I was looking it up, but I was looking it up the other day, and it's a picture of, like, I don't know if I assume he's a Union soldier.
Fingers crossed.
But yeah, like, he, like, some soldier. Here,
okay.
I pulled it up. Oliver Otis Howard was a Union general in the Civil War.
That is a really good name, though.
Yeah, it is.
Oliver Otis Howard. I would name a cat that. Like, that's their full name.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. So the extra thing, so not only was it cool that, like, she was able to become an English professor at a college and was able to, like, be the first dean of women, this job change and increase in pay also allowed her and Mary to buy a home together.
Oh, my God, yes.
So they bought a home together in the Brooklyn neighborhood.
Generational wealth through homeownership.
Brookland.
Yep.
Sorry, let me enunciate. Brookland.
I appreciate that because I was about to talk about how we need to plan our trip to Brooklyn because I have 2 places we need to go already.
Heck yeah.
Anyway.
So, do you remember how I said when she was doing her graduate studies, she was also doing administrative studies at another college?
Yeah.
Yeah, this super paid off for her when she became the dean of women. Because she kind of, like, knew what to do. So when she was hired as this dean of women, she made a point. Hell yeah.
I got the son of a bitch. Sorry.
She made a point of, like, examining and talking to and, like, just looking at the careers of other female deans from different universities, like, regardless of, like, color. Obviously gender matters because she's looking at female deans, but she did. She's like, it doesn't matter what kind of college it was. She was just like, okay, what are other people doing and what does it look like for them? And
she's like doing a case study.
That's exactly it. And I'm like, that's kind of fantastic. So this gave her ideas of how to confront issues specific to Howard University and it being, like, a traditionally, you know, like, black college and everything like that. So one of her most impactful decisions included creating 3 new women-only dorms on campus, which I was like, I'm surprised they didn't have that already, but okay. And
they literally just got a dean of women to point out to them that maybe that's something that women of this time would appreciate.
And when she like brought this idea forward, this is what she said, quote, "Women students, for their physical and social development, as well as for training their minds, require their own like dorms." I'm like, yeah, that's valid.
Well, this is also the early 1900s. Does that mean like when she was going to school there, she was in a dorm, like a mixed sex dorm? I
assume she was either in a mixed sex dorm or maybe women didn't get to live on campus.
Oh, I wonder.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's interesting. Because we
lived in well, I guess our first year it was like by hall, but technically like half the hall was men and half the hall was women. And then our second year it was mixed.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it is very interesting, especially thinking of like the more Victorian morals of the time.
Like, that's what
I
I'm
do
saying.
wonder if maybe women were like, no, you have to live at home.
Yeah. Well, I bet because that was what was expected. Yeah. Women live at home until they get married and then they live with their husband.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
The other thing that she put into practice was she provided freshmen with mentors to aid them in navigating the university and ensuring the inclusion of female students in campus policy making. Good job. Which is so weird because like I think about when we went to college and like, yeah, like, I mean, there was like one mentor for like 10 students, but like we still had them. There were upperclassmen like the day we moved in helping us move into our dorm. So I'm like, the fact that she had to like tell people like, hey, coming to college is confusing and having someone to help the freshmen is a good idea.
That's literally standard now. Those were weeks of welcome leaders.
Yeah.
I was a WOW leader.
I was
my
not.
sophomore year. I kind of got pressured into it because I was my first job in college was a blog writer for the college website about my freshman experience.
Oh, nice.
And like everyone else was going to be a weeks of, because you couldn't do it as a freshman, obviously.
I'm trying to like remember like, because I remember thinking about wanting to do it because I remember I thought about like wanting to be like an RA and then like a dorm like person, and I never did it, and I don't know why. I did the weeks of welcome thing, and it was a good experience. I definitely was not like, I would do a better job at it now in my fucking 30s. Same.
Instead of being 19 years old, because like I was like so insecure, and I was like, how am I supposed to like pretend like I know what's going on for these other like students? But it was a good experience. I did think about being an RA, but also I was like, I can barely handle my own shit. I can't handle everyone else's shit. Now, if my only job was to handle everyone else's shit while neglecting my own shit, that's where I thrive.
Yeah.
But if I still have to be held accountable for dealing with my own shit, I can't do that.
Yeah.
It's too much.
I
was not my best self in college.
Oh, no. I was, especially, I think, like my freshman year coming into my sophomore year. That was really rough. I almost didn't come back for sophomore year for various reasons. I don't actually know if Emily knew that.
I think you have told me that.
So, yeah, like I think that partially that is why I didn't do it. But I also like, yeah, I was dealing with my own shit. Like, I had a lot going on.
So the last time, which was it last summer or the summer before? I think it might have been summer before. So we went back.
Oh, we need to go again.
We went back to our university and visited and like walked the falls and took some pictures. That was the first time that I've been back to that place where I haven't felt like secondhand embarrassment.
No, like
so bad. I'm like, I feel like I'm okay enough where I can be here now.
Like, I think you've made great professional strides and stuff. And like, I finally went back to grad school, and it's like, I think we're both like in a place where we're like, yeah, maybe college wasn't the best, but like, one, it led us to each other, and it did lead us to where we are today.
Yeah, it was a good experience, but we've matured to the point where we're like, yeah, we were kind of fucked up during that time.
I definitely still want to go back, if for nothing else than to go back to that brewery and have that dessert again.
That distillery, that or is it gin?
So it was, no, it's whiskey. It's
whiskey, Tattersall.
Tattersall.
I have that sweatshirt.
because that dessert, that like pineapple upside down cake in their whiskey was so, like, I still think about it to this day. Every time I drive through it.
We'll plan it for this summer.
It's summer, yeah.
It's just a day
we
trip.
need to go tubing this summer. Anyways, back to Lucy.
Okay, let's go Sunday.
I'm down.
It's going to be hot as hell. So
yeah, that'd
there's
be
like
perfect.
nothing else
and
to
it's
do.
rained like a shit ton. The rivers would be perfect. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Anyways, so she also developed the Women's Students League, which was meant to, quote, help all of the female students at Howard University become more active on campus in leadership and other roles.
Because historically, women have not been conditioned to pursue those kinds of things. That's amazing.
So Lucy did push a lot of this. However, her efforts and the desires of the students were not always like, you know, the same.
Can I guess? She was like, let's fucking go. And the students were like, you're coming on a little too strong.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Like part of it was like, she was like, be active in campus, do all this. And some students sought out, and I don't know what this means, but I assume just like doing things in the city. But the way it was worded in like several of the articles I read was, but students sought out urban recreation and social autonomy. So I think like it was like they also wanted to like have a life outside of school and be able to like do other things. And the one thing that I think like we talk about like warts, I do think this is maybe Lucy's wart is, though she didn't necessarily think women should be confined to societal norms, she still held the belief that like when you're a student, it would be wise to adhere to more conventional ideas of womanhood. So I'm like, you know, it's not a big wart, but it's still just kind of like, which I get, because I think what she's saying is basically like, especially as a woman who lives outside of those standards, like, remember, she has a female partner at home.
Very far outside those standards.
Exactly. Like, I think she's basically kind of like, hey, we don't live in a time, that's just a hair.
You saw me looking. I was like, God damn it, I will kill you again.
That's why I pointed out. Yeah. But like, you know, I think she was basically just saying like, hey, I know, yeah, you want to go out and like maybe wear pants or wear short skirts or, you know, like date different men or, you know, date women. But like when you're on campus and when you're learning, it's, you know, I think she's basically trying to tell them like, you're going to get more out of your education if you kind of just lay low and deal with the societal norms than if you try to go against them.
There is an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine that's kind of about this where Raymond Holt, who was an openly gay cop in the 1970s, has finally got command.
And he talks about like his journey.
He's giving, well, he's also black. And so there's an episode where Terry Crews's character is profiled in his own neighborhood while he's like looking for his daughter's toy.
Yeah.
And Holt says, you should let this go. Like, don't file a complaint, you know, because that's going to be a red flag. It's going to make it harder for you to move up and then exact
you
change.
Gotta keep your head down sometimes.
Yep. And Terry Crews's character, who's also named Terry,
you know, that's how they got him to play that role.
Well, they were basically Terry Crews. You are Terry Crews.
That's exactly. They wrote it for him.
Yep.
And they that's what they told him. They were like, well, we already named it Terry, so it's just going to be weird if anyone else plays it, because he wasn't going to.
Terry gonna die saving the president, or Terry never gonna die.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Like, so he comes and he's like, but what is the point of making this progress if I
can't make this complaint?
Well, and if people like that are not held accountable. So and here's the thing, both of their points, very valid, very generationally colored, though.
And I think that's exactly what this is.
And you're exactly right. And I think especially her being so far outside of the norm,
she kind of knows,
probably further than most of her students are, and further than her students know. She's like, you got to be extra careful,
exactly, like,
because that is her protection.
You could lose everything.
And I'm sure there's some projection in that, because 100%. She also knows she could lose everything.
Yeah. So sometimes this created like an ideological difference between Lucy and her students, though like her students and people that like went to school while she was there as the dean of students still recognize that like she made groundbreaking strides and like really helped Howard University become what it is.
That's also part of growing up is learning what to and to not take from the adults you look up to.
Well, and even like in like her later years, like Lucy kind of talks about like her aim, even though she kind of said like, hey, maybe follow societal norms, her aim was to empower young women though and provide them with the tools to succeed. And so I think that is really where it comes down to, like, it's colored by the fact that she's like, okay, in order for me to succeed, I do need to follow societal norms, because if anyone finds out that my roommate is actually my life partner, like, I'm not going to have a life anymore. Like, I'm not going to be dead, but like, they're not going to let me teach. They're not going to let me do all these things that I want to do.
I think also it sounds like, so I'm imagining her students, like they're going to the city, they're having these outward social lives. This might be the first and one of the only times that they're independent in that way.
Well, especially
because
like,
they come from
now
their parents.
allowed to live on campus.
Exactly, because they come from their parents. Now they're in school, and the next step for most of these girls is husband.
Exactly.
You know, like that is the expectation.
And for once, they're like, maybe I don't have to find a husband right away.
Exactly. But for Lucy, her education and her school life was her salvation.
Yeah.
And that was her freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. And she talked a lot about like that she felt college was an ideal avenue for women to gain independence. So the same year that she became Dean of Women, she actually was also elected as president of the National Association of College Women, or the NACW. And this kind of helped her realize her goals of eradicating gender-based discrimination on a scale far beyond one university. You know, so she's doing all this stuff at Howard, but then she's like, oh, I now got elected as the president of a national association. I can put some of these things into practice nationwide instead of just at one university, which I think is so cool. So she kind of did a lot of what she did at Howard nationally too, like encouraged women-only dorms and encouraged, hey, like, let's have mentors, particularly maybe for the women that are coming from like never really having this freedom before. And hey, let's make sure they're involved in the decision making. And they've looked at, like, the research shows that like her work in these two roles as the Dean of Women and as the president of the NACW was so impactful that other historically Black colleges, but other colleges in general, would model their practices after what she was doing. So that's pretty cool. She was also part of numerous other organizations. She co-founded the Association of Deans of Women and also the Advisors to Girls in Negro Schools. So she's like founding all these things to like, let's help women get educated. Let's help them like navigate once they are getting educated.
Well, and also the intersectionality, because women seeking education at this time is one issue. Black women seeking education at this time has a lot more layers and a lot more barriers and complexity.
Yes. And
shouldn't
in
have,
that case, she was also part of the leadership to the National Council on Negro Women and the American Association of University Women. Because you think of like, at this time, yes, like a lot of African-American kids were being educated in segregated schools that weren't fantastic, but they were being educated. But like, even after college was open to women, African-American women still had that harder time. Like, they had that extra barrier to getting in. So she is being this voice on so many of these councils to be like, hey, I'm an educated African-American woman that like did all this stuff, that went to graduate school. Let's do this kind of a thing.
This is why queer women of color are so incredibly powerful.
Exactly. She's just doing everything.
She is a triple threat, and she will make sure you succeed.
Yeah. She also joined the Young Women's Christian Association and the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. And she made an impact wherever she went. She forever changed the landscape for African-American female students and women of African-American women that wanted to be administrators or deans or teachers. However, we have to remember that this journey is not going to be without its challenges. One, she's African-American. Two, she's a lesbian.
Oh, I thought you were going to say she's a woman.
I mean, she is a woman, but she also likes women.
Yeah, she's a lesbian. You're right.
So in the later years of Lucy's time as Dean of Women, she began to face challenges from the university administration. Previously, she had had a harmonious relationship with the president of Howard College. However, after he left, so it was originally a man named J. Stanley Durkee, which I like that name. But after he left, a man named Mordecai Johnson, which
I'm sorry, I
think
love
it's
that
because
name.
it's close to like Moriarty, but I'm like, yeah, Mordecai sounds like a bad guy name.
Mordecai is like what I named my laptop at one point, but I also
if I ever had a bird, particularly if I had like a crow or a raven, I would name it Mordecai.
You're giving regular show, and I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I also love like Mordecai. That's a name we never hear. Johnson, so fucking
I
basic.
know.
The combination of Mordecai and then Johnson.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Mordecai
fantastic.
Smith.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
But it was once Mordecai became president that issues started appearing. So Mordecai was greatly appalled by Lucy's, quote, liberal attitude of women. And Lucy was certainly not shy about like kind of opposing the president on his more like Victorian and strict views on women. Though her ideals manifested more often through her actions, she also often was outspoken about them. Like she normally would just kind of be like, well, whatever, but here's what I'm going to do. She also talked about it. And so,
well, and if she was a man, she'd be like, you know, I don't agree with your methods, but you get results.
Exactly.
But because she's a woman, it's like, you're problematic.
Exactly.
You're trouble
So
and you're difficult.
yeah. Exactly. You're not a boss lady. You're
Gun.
a bitch.
Top Gun would have never happened if Maverick was a
There you
woman.
go, yeah.
He would have or she would have gotten shut down so fucking fast.
Oh, she would have just been like kicked out.
Yeah,
it would have
no.
just not even been an option.
Not
Yep.
even through
Nope.
basic. Not a
No.
goddamn thing. No movie, no homoerotic volleyball scene. We would have all lost because
So
of
much,
sexism.
yeah. So Lucy once wrote to the Journal of Negro Education, quote, Negro women must be prepared for the responsibilities of citizenship if they are to discharge their duties to the government under which they live, and if they are capable of watching their own interests and of using their ballot in preserving and promoting these interests. She's basically like, watch who you vote for, women.
Yeah.
Like,
Let's all just make sure we're making good choices here. Let's
Yeah.
just all like think about what we're voting for and how it's actually going to affect our lives. And let's get organized.
so Lucy and Mordecai not only had conflicting beliefs on like what a woman should be and how they should act, but they didn't see eye to eye on what actions to take regarding the student body either. In an incident where a student reported sexual harassment by a professor, Lucy determined it was right to fire the professor.
Hot
Whereas
take.
Mordecai was kind of, he resisted and was kind of like, I don't know.
He would have done super well in modern
Oh, yeah.
collegiate administration.
He also so the other conflicts they had tended to be refusing her budget requests, removing her from the board of deans, and allowing her pay to fall well below what the other deans made. So like he's basically following all the traditional like men are better
Women are lesser.
stereotypes.
I'm so mad because of the name like Mordecai, he has to be better. I demand him
See,
to
like
be
to
better.
me, I'm like he sounds like a bad guy.
I like the name Mordecai.
I do too.
Regular Show has a special little place in my heart.
See, I've never watched Regular Show.
It's really good. It was one of those shows on Cartoon Network. It was meant for children.
Yeah.
But watching
It was
it in
very adult, too.
But watching it in my early 20s and watching these two dudes who had like no direction and were just kind of like
Just hit home.
trying to
Okay.
figure it out day by day, I was like, I feel so seen right now.
That's funny. So obviously, like he was aiming to counter all her efforts and diminish what power she held. Mordecai also began to infringe on her personal life.
I swear to Christ, sir.
So the previous president, J. Stanley Durkee, granted Lucy the ability to live off campus, just as male deans were allowed to do. Mordecai sought to revoke those privileges. Lucy did not take his harassment lightly or lying down. She went to the press. She talked to her colleagues. She talked to community members, as well as Howard alumni that often donated to the school.
Lucille Bluth, good for
Exactly.
her.
She's like, oh, you want to fuck up my life? I'm going to fuck up your job,
Can
bitch.
you imagine a job being like, no, you have to live on this campus. Like, you don't get to have autonomy. You don't get to have independence. Like, that's insane. And then especially because it's just her.
Yeah.
It's only, none of the male deans are being made to do this.
No, exactly.
Because they would never stand for it.
No. Unfortunately, this served to sour their relationship further. Makes sense. And
that's on him.
And as she went through all those pains, Mordecai also escalated the conflict, ultimately encouraging Lucy to no longer serve as dean. He did not remove her, but it was strongly encouraged. He encouraged her to go back to teaching full-time. Lucy refused and did not yield until she physically could not stand against Mordecai anymore. The stress brought on by her endless quarrels, and probably life in general, left Lucy bedridden. Her ailment and her bedriddenness, however, did not stop Mordecai's harassment. And in September of 1937, he, quote, ordered a subordinate to go to her sickbed and deliver her an ultimatum, which was either return to campus within 24 hours or you will be replaced as dean.
Monsters come in a lot of different forms, and this is one of them. He doesn't have to kill anyone. He doesn't have to sexually assault anyone. This is a version of monstrosity,
this
though.
Is someone just overtly using their powers for bad.
And from a sexist angle, like, it's just so fucked up. My God. Okay, I just want to remember, what was his name? Mordecai Johnson?
Yep.
Mordecai Johnson's...
How dare you?
His entire legacy is picking on a successful, proven educator and administrator
who's doing good
Lucy
things.
Diggs Slowe, who is way better than he could ever hope to be. That's his whole legacy. He wrote it right now, right here. He's a prick.
Yeah.
That's his whole legacy. I'm sorry if you're related to him. I hope you're doing better.
Lucy was not able to deliver on the ultimatum. She was not able to go back to school. And unfortunately, she would die a month later.
Are you? Whoa. No.
On October 21st, 1937, Lucy would pass away at the age of 52 from kidney failure.
He harassed her to fucking death?
Yeah.
Kelley, what the fuck are you doing right now? This is not Bury Your Gays Month.
No.
What the fuck?
This is Be Mad at Someone Named Mordecai Johnson.
Oh my
story.
God. You know, and I hate this. I hate this when people like emotionally abuse you, like they emotionally and psychologically abuse you. You start feeling the effects and then they pretend like you're overreacting as if they have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
This dude's in hell. I'm sorry. This guy is actually in hell.
Many people attended memorials in her honor. And actually a year after she passed, they held another memorial for her. And it was very, very well attended. A lot of the attendees were women that were also fighting for education and paying their respects and all of this stuff. And the loss was felt so deeply in the community and amongst close friends, but particularly by Mary. I didn't talk a lot about their relationship in this story because I did talk about it a lot in Mary's. So go back and listen to that episode. But I think I mentioned in hers that like after Lucy passed, Mary kept Lucy's picture on her piano next to a vase filled with white carnations for the rest of her life. They had been together for 25 years.
I'm sorry. I'm completely deaf. I'm like,
oh yeah.
I know.
This was one of those stories that I finished. I finished writing and I closed my laptop and I just screamed for a minute.
Like, I know you're seeing what's happening to me. I need the listeners to know I am completely fucking gobsmacked.
Emily is upset,
jaw
and
dropped,
angry to the
shocked.
point that she is just like silent.
I froze.
Yeah.
I'm frozen. I'm already like not in a good place. I did not fucking need this, Kelley. Jesus. Well, I mean, here's the thing. We say this all the time. Some of the hardest stories that we have to tell are the most important. And again, Lucy Diggs Slowe, her legacy is incredible. Mordecai Johnson, his legacy is that he's a goddamn asshole.
Right. And yes, you've heard about him now, but hopefully you'll forget his name and only remember Lucy's.
I was going to say, it's like, oh yeah, Lucy Diggs. That one dude was a total prick to her. That's how this story goes now. Yeah. That one dude.
He was a hemorrhoid.
Oh my God.
Massive
hemorrhoid.
So obviously Lucy has been recognized in a variety of ways because she did so much for so many people. Her life and legacy has been featured by the National Association of Women Deans, Administrators, and Counselors. The organization has a plaque in their headquarters in D.C. that honors Lucy. Howard University, where she obviously did so much fucking good, even though Mordecai refused to acknowledge it.
They're going to name a hall after her, not him, though.
Yep. They have a hall named for Lucy D. Or the Lucy D. Slowe Hall.
Yes, they fucking do.
They also named one of the streets that is within the university after her. It's called Lucy Diggs Slowe Way.
Rest in distress, Mordecai.
There is an elementary school also in DC donning her name. So that's all I have to say.
God fucking bless.
I will say there was an elementary school that was open but closed in 2009. I don't think it was like necessarily because of like her name, but just due to various things.
I think schools rarely close due to the name. There's too many schools and places named after Confederate generals for that to be true.
I know you said Caitlin was excited when I covered Mary. So Caitlin, I hope you're excited that I also covered Lucy.
Oh my God. Caitlin. I seriously love Caitlin.
No, like Caitlin from A Tour of Her Own.
Oh shit, you're right. Sorry, I was thinking Sister of the Podcast, Caitlin.
I mean, like, Sister of the Podcast is also amazing, but
it was a name for a minute in the 90s.
It was.
Yeah, actually, my mom had planned to name me Caitlin, but by the time she was pregnant with me,
it was
everyone was fucking named Caitlin. So she named me Emily.
Like the second most popular name,
which came back to bite her in the ass because I was one of like 3 Emilys my entire childhood.
It was super funny. So like in my grade, particularly, like, I'm thinking of in my like Catholic school. Actually, even in high school, I think I was the only Kelley that I knew, but the grade below me had 3, all spelled differently.
Yes.
No, they had 2. One was spelled I-E, one was spelled just Y, and then there was me with the E-Y. So it was very funny. But anyways, obviously Lucy has a lot to be remembered for. She was an educator that really took upon her challenges. She was someone that was a lesbian, but wasn't allowed to be open about it, but still very much loved her partner. She had an unwavering determination and desire to not only learn, but to help others learn and further themselves. And she has this lasting impact, not only on how schools are run, how women are treated within schools, and how we're allowed to be part of student council and we're allowed to like have teaching roles. But she also just inspired people by being tenacious and being, like a dog with a bone of like, hey, I want this to be better for people. So I'm going to try to make it better for people.
And you know what I love is like you and I, even as white, we're just talking about college.
Yeah.
Even as white women, like some of the things that she pioneered were like fucking duh.
Yeah.
Like orientation leaders, mentors, all of that shit. Like that's just standard now. We benefited from that. We directly benefited from Lucy Diggs Slowe.
Yeah. So if you were someone that went to college and had someone that like showed you around campus and helped you out, thank Lucy.
Or if you got to be an orientation leader and you were like, I shouldn't be doing this.
I don't know what the fuck
and
I'm
you
doing.
did it anyway. And you got to put it on your resume and maybe that helped you get like an entry-level job. You have Lucy Diggs Slowe to thank for it. Thank you, Lucy.
But yeah, I do want to say, like, I realized as I was reading it, like, I didn't include a lot about Mary. And I think it's because I had just done Mary and I talked a lot about her and Lucy. But that is something I do want to mention here at the end, is that you have to remember that she's out there doing all these amazing things while at the same time keeping what probably was a major part of her, this person that she loves, secret. Like, yes, their closest friends and confidants knew that, but like, I think about like how, like if I, if like my partner says something funny or something like that, and like I can go to work and I can share that with my colleagues. Like, yeah, I may not overtly be like, oh, it's a man, da 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 da.
My husband with a penis.
Right. But like I do. I think about like how, especially when like Johnson was like up in her business, like how careful she had to be. But like this entire time, yeah, she spent loving another woman, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, and the extra
but she was so
stress,
fear of it.
The extra stress that must have added to her situation. Like, who knows if Johnson knew?
Well, and he clearly tried to by being like, you have to live on campus. It makes me wonder if like
he was like
if he
forcing
didn't
her
know,
hand,
but if he suspected.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like that. But also having her live on campus, that's a control thing. Yeah. Which, again, in misogyny is a very big deal. But yeah, no, that is
so I just wanted to point that out, that like she's doing all of this while also being a not able to be open lesbian in a time where, had she been open, she would have been fired from her job, because especially at this time, people that were anywhere on the LGBTQIA plus spectrum were not allowed to teach children because they were afraid that it would rub off on the children.
Thank God we're not having that argument anymore.
But that was Lucy.
I'm sorry. I went to Catholic school.
Oh,
I
God,
was taught by fucking nuns, and I'm not straight, okay? Don't fucking tell me.
Like both of us. Like, we both went to Catholic school. We both did all this stuff, and both of us are like, yeah, we're not straight.
I think the lesson is, if you want a gay kid, send them to Catholic school.
Yeah, there you go. Like, it's the exact opposite of what you think it'll be.
It's going to open them up just enough to how, like, weird and fucked up and contradictory everything is, where they're like, wait, maybe the binary and what everyone's telling me to do is bullshit. Like, maybe I should question everything.
If this is bullshit, why can't everything else also be bullshit?
Or in my case, learning that Jesus was like, just love everyone and don't be a dick, and translating that to every situation in my life and being like, wait, that's not what Jesus was into.
Exactly.
He was flipping tables on capitalism and being like, feed everyone and love everyone.
Everybody drink wine.
He was hanging with the lepers.
We've come full circle. We're now just doing what Jesus wanted us to do and drink wine.
Do you remember? This is kind of a deep cut, but do you remember that joke from Family Guy where Peter takes like a sip of communion wine? He's like, whoa, that's the blood of Christ. That dude must have been wasted 24/7.
Oh,
as a Catholic, I love that so much.
All right, you know we're drunk when one story takes like an hour. So Emily, who are you whining about?
So fortunately, my story is actually pretty short. I do have some shout outs to give.
I'm gonna make sure it's very long.
It's just never gonna shut. Here's the thing. I am the person who makes things long. You're the person who's like, we have a job to do right now. Okay?
I mean, you're the person that's like, Emily, I have to pee.
We're making like, no, I also have to pee. So we're good here. So I am whining today about Commander Alyce Victorine Grillet.
Victorine?
Yes.
That's her middle name. Like, legitimately her middle name?
That is actually the middle name she chose, and I'll get into it a little bit.
Love that.
Fucking amazing. What we're going to learn about Alyce.
I like Alyce.
Is
Lucy
that,
and Alyce.
Well,
like,
and
those are both of our bar names. Like, that's perfect.
Well, and she spelled her name Alyce, which I'm not usually into the non-traditional spelling, but first of all, that was how her name was spelled. That was her birth name regardless. But also, Alyce is one of those people where she contains multitudes.
She's so amazing that you're like, this one time I can deal with the changing.
She can have a traditional name spelt in a way that no one would get. Like she's full of like alleged contradiction. We're gonna get into it.
Okay,
she's a fascinating person. So, Washington, D.C.
I also like that both of our stories kind of revolve around Washington.
Well, I was just there.
I know. Caitlin's going to be so happy.
This story, I'm dedicating it to Caitlin Calgara of A Tour of Her Own. If you're ever in D.C., please reach out to A Tour of Her Own.
I wish I could have been there.
atourofherown.org and schedule a tour. Or even just email them and be like, are there some places I really need to hit up? Because she gave me some incredible recommendations.
They'll give you recommendations.
Oh my God. It was absolutely amazing. I went to the, what was it called? The something Paul House, but it was like the headquarters of the National Association for Women's Suffrage. And it was like where Alice Paul lived.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on the name because I'm drunk. It's fine. We'll get into it later. But
it's in the story.
Caitlin, I just want to thank her. We did meet up a couple of times when I was in DC.
Jelly.
She was so incredible, so like gracious. Like, here's the thing.
That's how, like, when we did that interview with her, like, that's how she very much seemed.
But like, here's the thing. She's got her life that, like, these are during weekdays. I'm there for a work conference, but like when I'm hanging out with her, I'm kind of on vacation and I'm imposing myself into her life.
I love that.
And she's like, come here. She's got
like,
you.
yes, please come.
And we were texting. She's giving me recommendations. It was really amazing. I'm so thankful.
Phone numbers.
I'm so thankful to her. I did give her a rainbow corncob pin.
Aww.
As
that's
a
right.
gift.
I remember that. We talked about that before you went.
So I hope she enjoyed it. But seriously, a tour of her own. Check it out. Also, Caitlin's book. I think it's 111 places in DC for women's history you should know. I'm butchering the title, but if you go on their website, you will find it. So this is dedicated to her. So Washington, D.C. was carefully planned by French artist and Revolutionary War veteran Major Pierre-Charles L'Enfant. His revolutionary urban design has inspired capitals across the world and earned L'Enfant a DC metro stop named after him. It's ENFANT.
I like that he designed Washington, D.C. and they're like, to honor you, you get a metro stop.
I will say, can I just say the public transportation in D.C.
is top notch. That's what I've heard.
It's really good. The only issue I had was I was in Pentagon City, which is like pretty far outside of like the main metro area.
Okay.
And I was trying to get a bus to the train station and Google told me the wrong place where the bus stop was. And then when I was like walking down the sidewalk to find the bus stop, the sign, which was just in like a bucket of concrete, was tipped over. And I was like, is this on accident or is this telling me the bus stop doesn't exist? So I got on the bus going the wrong way. And then I finally figured out, got off and went the right way and it was fine. But that's why I got the unlimited ride metro car. So I could make as many mistakes as I want.
Smart woman.
But like the metro was actually pretty, like, here's the thing. I'm a mess. I'm directionally challenged. Symbols are difficult for me. I was able to figure it out. And
Good
also,
job.
Caitlin, thank you for your recommendations where I'm like,
Proud
what
of
stop
you.
do I get off at to get to this place?
She's like, oh, do this one and then walk here.
Caitlin was a little bit my like travel mom. So, but with all of his careful planning, L'Enfant forgot one thing.
Oh, God.
Where to put the dead people.
Oh, he forgot cemeteries. Good job. Good job, L'Enfant.
This is why goth representation in urban design is so important.
Exactly. Like, we need someone that goes, hey, guys, what about the dead people?
Which I think is so interesting because what to do with the dead and waste has been such an enduring issue of planning cities and communities.
For forever.
I'm like, you didn't think of where to bury the dead.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those like, how do you not think of it? Because it's like everyone ends up there at some point.
I will say, like, DC, like, its design is really incredible, so I guess I'll give him this. But like,
at the same time, it's kind of like,
as a former
really?
goth girl, I'm like,
how do you not remember the dead people?
where are you gonna bury everyone, dude? In the backyard?
Yeah, exactly. He's like, everyone just has to have their own private place to bury people.
Every house is haunted.
Yep.
Every building comes with at least 3 dead people.
That's all you need.
That's actually a selling point for
There
me.
you go.
So fortunately, in 1807, private citizens in the local Christ Church got together to secure 4.5 acres, dubbed Washington Parish Burial Ground.
Okay.
So influenced by the Garden Cemetery movement, Congressional Cemetery, as it became known,
Yep.
and as it's known today, was highly landscaped, which made it look more like a park, which I think is interesting because, like, so Congressional Cemetery is very different from any cemetery I've been to, but that whole garden design, we see that in cemeteries today.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, that was a whole movement where it's like, this doesn't just have to be a place to, like, store decomposing corpses. It can also be cute.
Yeah, like,
which is
it
the
doesn't have to be
pastel-
one or the other.
It's the pastel goth girly shit that I need. So, this included a paved path, fencing, and the gatehouse, which is really lovely. So today, Congressional Cemetery functions as both a burial ground and park. People walk their dogs. I was walking along the fence line to get in there, and I saw a dog running and shit on somene's grave. And I was
my God.
I actually texted Caitlin. I was like, oh my God, I just
You're
saw
like,
a
is
dog
this
shit on
normal?
someone's grave. Because like I walk at the Corey Hill Cemetery and I won't let my dog step on like the gravestones.
Yeah.
Because it feels disrespectful. But this is a place
Like,
where
it's okay there.
the living and the dead can commingle. And I need to say, the owner picked up the shit
Good
right
job.
away. They were on top of it. But I was like I
that's
wasn't.
that would be the point that you could get mad is like, yes, we can commingle, but like if you're not being an appropriate dog owner, that's also not okay.
I would have yelled. But this is a place where like you can take your dogs and have them run around unleashed.
That's
as long
really
as you're
cool.
being responsible,
Yeah,
that's
as long
fine.
as you're picking up their shit.
Yeah. So people walk their dogs. Pride 5Ks are held. People
That's
keep
awesome.
bees for fuck's sake. I found
Like in this park?
Yes, I found like those little bee boxes. There's also like a little baby pet cemetery, and I definitely didn't bitch cry while looking at it and like start planning my pet's funerals.
See, Emily may not admit to it, but I would. Like, I would have just started crying.
Yeah. I've bitch cried in a lot of public places
Although,
that I'm not proud
I also
of.
like recently lost a dog, so that would have also added to the bitch crying.
So this place is basically everything that my gay baby goth heart has ever wanted, because it's so
the
beautiful
pictures
to
you
walk
showed me
through.
it was amazing.
I'll post some pictures on our socials. There are also a bunch of famous people buried there. There's these 2 long rows of trees that like make an arch, and you walk under them on this path. And I was like, oh my God, this is just really gorgeous. That's actually a 9/11 memorial. Which then again, I was like getting all choked up. I'm like, I have no moisture left right now. I cried so much in DC. There was so much fucking crying. So, as the name suggests, many Congress people are buried here, but Congressional Cemetery boasts a variety of interns, or so should I say, in urns.
Oh,
That's for Melissa and Mark. I wrote this before that happened, but I'm like, oh my God, that's the dad joke. That's for Mark. That's for Mark
That's
Cortman.
beautiful.
That's for him. At the gatehouse, you can even find a map to the most notable decomposing corpses, including Edgar J. Hoover, he's got a complicated history.
Yeah,
so
he
that was
does.
interesting. So among the groupings of graves,
that's like the nicest way to say that. He has a complicated history.
I was surprised. So he's near the section that I'm about to talk about, and it's kind of like a tongue-in-cheek thing.
Okay.
Because he was allegedly a cross-dresser.
Yep.
And I say cross-dresser instead of trans because I think that's how it's predominantly been
Yeah.
understood. And you can be you can enjoy dressing.
You can do both
in drag and not be trans. You know,
Exactly,
all these
like,
things can exist at the same time.
Exactly. They're not mutually exclusive.
But he was also like incredibly anti-LGBTQ plus, like
to the point where it's like you might actually have been one.
Like,
and
it
just
was-
like yeah.
it's complicated. So I was surprised. I found his grave, and I knew that's where this section I was looking for was. I was
That's
surprised to
kinda
see
funny.
some pride flags there, but I think it's acknowledging the complexities of being queer at that time,
Yeah.
and especially being in the position he was in. And hey, being part of the LGBTQ plus community doesn't mean you're a good person, but I think it's important to acknowledge the complexities in that situation.
Exactly.
So, this
So
isn't
it's not
about him.
about
Though.
him,
It's
no.
not about him. So, among the groupings of graves is a special corner affectionately known as the gay corner.
Okay, they do mean it affectionately.
They
not
do.
As, okay.
No, I almost wrote it as queer corner because I like the alliteration, but in every source it's called the gay corner.
Okay.
It's
And
well known.
as long as it's like like a respectful thing and not.
No, this isn't early aughts gay. This is present day gay.
Good.
Remember when you got called gay in like 2006 and it was like really offensive,
derogatory, yeah.
and now you get called gay and you're like, yes, bitch.
Exactly.
So using the map at the gatehouse, you can first locate J. Edgar Hoover and then walk to the left of his grave. And the first grave that you'll likely notice is that of Leo Matlevich. His polished black granite stone features 2 triangles, one inverted, one upright. Beneath the triangles, it reads, "Never again, never forget," with his birth date and death date. So this is the grave that I was showing Christmas, Halloween, that had all the stones on top of it. So that's when we reach the headline. In large capital letters is inscribed, "A gay Vietnam veteran." Beneath it reads, "When I was in the military, they gave me a medal for killing 2 men and a discharge for loving one." I feel like we've talked about this before, or briefly mentioned it. So the headstone is piled with small rocks and stones, tributes from visitors, while the shining black slab laid on the ground is decorated with American and pride flags. Like this is like a pilgrimage spot almost. Like that's the impression you get. So I'm not going to get into Leo's story today. The headstone is pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
He actually, if I remember correctly, he came out as gay as like a statement. Like he was gay, but he's like, "I'm a decorated Vietnam War vet." And you're saying you're saying like I'm not good enough. Yeah, and he was just discharged.
Because I love a man, yeah.
And so it's a little also tongue in cheek that he's like right down the path from J. Edgar Hoover. It's kind of like a little passive aggressive, like,
which I love.
Fuck you, brah. So in this area, you'll notice more headstones with rainbows, triangles, and other queer code decorations. I'm looking at you, cat bench. There's literally a cat bench, and I took a picture of it, and I showed it to Egg, and I was like, this could be us.
This could be us.
I'll post the picture. Since then, many members of the LGBTQ plus community have been buried nearby, proudly declaring themselves even after death. So I think it was I couldn't find an exact reason, or if it was like designated, but I think Leo Matlovich and like his story being such a big deal inspired other LGBTQ plus people in the DC area or veterans to like be buried there.
Okay.
So he's a trendsetter.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So one of the people buried in Congressional Cemetery's gay corner is USN Commander Alyce Victorine Grillet. And just by looking at her grave, you can learn a lot about Alyce.
Okay.
Her headstone features an inverted rainbow triangle, a heart with an infinity symbol through it, and the U.S. Navy officer's crest.
Okay.
It took quite a bit of Googling to figure out what that was. Okay. I was like, Navy crest. That's not it. Eagle Navy crest. We're still not there. There were so many like iterations of Eagle Navy good yay crest, big deal crest. So below her name reads mother, sister, partner, bisexual, queer.
Hell yeah.
And below the USN crest in italic script is carved, all should be free to love.
Oh.
Small rocks sit atop her headstone, small tributes left by visitors. But who is the woman behind or beneath the headstone? Oh. That's for you, Mark. Alyce Victorine Grillet was born Alyce. Oh, I screwed this up. She actually changed the spelling of her name to be less traditional. So she spells her name Alyce. She was born Alyce, Alice.
Okay.
Odile Grillet. So
I feel like Odile
she kind of changed her first name and middle
Victorine
name.
is awesome.
On March 11th, 1971. So she's a military gal. So Victorine feels like, V for victory. I don't know if that's the reason. I couldn't actually find information on why she had changed her name.
Pretty awesome.
So she was born on March 11th, 1971 in Topeka, Kansas, 311. Her mother, Muriel, sorry, it's spelled in a way that did not make sense to me at first. Muriel passed away when Alyce was only 5 years old, leading to Alyce and her sister Anne to be raised by their father in New Orleans. After graduating high school, Alyce attended Tulane University, where she earned her bachelor's in economics and bachelor's in studio arts. Talking about double majors here. Mm-hmm. In like pretty different things. She would eventually go back to school and earn her master's in strategic human resource management and certificate in organizational leadership. So economics, art, human resources, and leadership. It is very clear that Alyce was an intelligent woman with a variety of interests.
Clearly, yeah.
And also, like, growing up, I was like, if you're good at English, you're bad at math. If you're good at math, you're bad at English. You know, there are these things like, and never the two shall they meet. And Alyce is like, that's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, like, I'm going to be good
all
at
the
both.
things.
Yeah.
In 1998, Alyce enlisted in the U.S. Navy and was stationed at Naval Air Station in Lemoore, California, where she worked as a ground electronics technician. And in February 2001, she was commissioned as a naval officer. Ooh. So I was like thinking about that in context of 9/11 because that's one of my historical like landmarks. She was a naval officer before 9/11.
Okay.
And the reason that kind of struck me was like, I think 9/11, first of all, it saw a big increase in recruitment, but also the United States was not yet at war. I think we all knew it was coming.
Yeah. There's a lot going on.
So the fact that like this was not a kind of like battlefield promotion or like anticipation, like and not that would make it less,
but it's still nice to kind of have that context.
But I feel like 9/11 changed a lot of how we view the military and how certain things operate, and this was pre 9/11,
and how willing the military was to overlook things maybe they wouldn't in the past.
Right. So she spent 19 months aboard the USS Carl Vinson during the Iraq War and was promoted to the rank of commander in 2016.
Oh, wow.
Her last assignment in a 20-year military career was as officer in charge and mate. Sorry. Oh my God. I'm just going to say.
You're struggling.
I wrote these notes when I was really struggling with the depression, having a hard time focusing. And part of them I wrote when I was drinking a THC bevy. Okay. So this is kind of a crapshoot.
Now we all know.
She was an officer in charge and maintenance officer at the Fleet Readiness Center, Mid-Atlantic Detachment, Washington at Joint Base Andrews. When it comes to military titles, I'm like,
there's a lot.
I don't understand it. I'm just going to write it and then read it, and then I get confused.
I love that. I love that adventure for you.
It's just like, it's all part of my growth journey. So beyond her military service, Alyce was a prolific reader, particularly of nonfiction. She was also an artist, primarily working with permanent marker on canvas, which
that's cool.
There was an artist that I used to work with, and he was colorblind. So he worked like almost exclusively in white canvas with black permanent marker and like did really like thick, dark lines and like
beautiful,
smooth, wavy lines.
Yeah.
And I know you've seen some of his stuff because I've showed it to you.
Yeah.
But it's like, it like makes your brain feel good. It like kind of like,
there's something soothing about it.
It meets a need that your brain has that I cannot quite, it satisfies your brain. And that's what that makes me think of. Because oh my God, I love that shit. So she was passionate about relationship psychology as game theory, which I knew you would be into.
Hell yeah.
And spiritually was a chaos magic Buddhist.
That's amazing.
So I had to look this up because like Buddhism, I have like a general idea of.
Yeah, but you're like, what is chaos magic Buddhism?
I know what chaos magic would mean to me.
I'm not sure what it means in the context of Buddhism.
So what it sounds like to me, so Buddhism is the primary like belief system. Chaos magic is kind of like an adverb or adjective for it. So chaos magic is a spiritual philosophy that the world as we perceive it can be changed by deliberately changing those beliefs. It kind of reminded me of that like manifesting.
Okay, yeah.
You know, or like your perception
changes
can influence reality, or at least how you intake situations. So belief is a tool that can be used to achieve desired effects, and according to religious scholar Hugh Urban, chaos magic is, quote, rejection of all fixed models of reality. Nothing is true and everything is permitted. So it's nice. Also like a huge rejection of the traditional norms, which makes perfect sense and so that's her philosophy in the Buddhist context.
Yeah, that makes more sense then.
So this makes perfect sense for Alyce, considering that she lived a life of alleged contradictions. She was a decorated bi-poly queer naval officer who integrated her personal identity into her work by advocating for LGBTQ plus rights and inclusion in the military. So Alyce was a dedicated sailor and fierce advocate with these identities coexisting within her.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. And she was described by a coworker as, quote, an energizing whirl of charisma, intellect, and passion for life. And like, she seems like one of those people that you'd meet her and she just kind of makes you rethink everything.
Yeah.
And like, but like in a
like
good
the best way. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh my God, maybe I'm like more, or like maybe I'm more in control than I think I am. Maybe I'm less helpless than I think I am. So an article by Alan M. from Polyamory in the Media, Alan shares the reflections of one of Alyce's friends. Quote, we met at a spiritual gathering, talked for a bit, exchanged email addresses, and hugged twice. That's it. I left home the next week on my way to Afghanistan. Corresponding began before I left the country. Images, thoughts, questions, and answers. Some trite, others touching on what queer meant to her. Communication progressed for the next 3 to 4 months. Then things changed. She had just started an important transition career course when she got a diagnosis of advanced stage cancer.
No. You get mad at me for what happened in my story. Jesus.
I literally started this with describing her headstone. You cannot be surprised.
I'm still upset. Everyone dies, Emily.
It's not a twist.
I mean, the cancer's a little sad.
So the quote goes on. I returned on leave from Afghanistan days after she died, but in time to attend her memorial service. When her headstone was installed on Memorial Day weekend 2019, which I was there like just after Memorial Day weekend, I was still in the hospital recovering from a bicycle crash. I finally got to see it in September, and I knew of the words, but the symbols made it all the more powerful.
Yeah.
So while LGBTQ plus folks in the military is more accepted than it was, and I use that with like tentative
heavy
finger
quotes.
In decades past, polyamory is still grounds for court-martial under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So like it doesn't explicitly name polyamory as like being unallowed, but the code makes any relationship outside the bonds of monogamous marriage punishable by disciplinary action, which can include a court-martial. Which like I'm like, hey, I'm not up for people cheating on their partners, okay?
But if everyone is okay with it,
polyamory,
who are you to say?
But also like polyamory and cheating are not the same things. And like, I'm sure there's some kind of documentation process for like being in a romantic relationship with someone in the military. So like, why can't there just be like a, hey,
I'm
we're
in
all
the relationship with
to the,
yeah.
It's frustrating, you know, that people can't live their lives openly, consensually without being persecuted for it.
Like still.
Yeah. And this does not apply to guys who are like, I want an open relationship as an
woman's
excuse
like, no,
to like cheat without guilt, and then the woman is like having success, and then they're like, no.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
Because those are not the same thing. Polyamory is not that. So this makes her including the polyamory symbol, which is the heart with the infinity symbol in it, on her grave even more like revolutionary and like
amazing,
radical.
Yeah.
Yes. So while Alyce was proudly queer, being in the military during the don't ask, don't tell era meant that she couldn't be open about her identity with most people. Like, so
that sucks.
I got the impression she was a fierce advocate. She was very proud
but she
of
didn't
who she
necessarily
was.
Like tell everyone.
But all of that was tapered by the don't ask, don't tell era. You know, and we've talked about this before. You know, we've talked about queer women in the military and how they had to hide and all the risks that they were put at, and how like military police would like try to trick them into outing other people. Like it was like a straight up witch hunt. And we talked about the Lavender Scare. So this is when she's serving in the military, a successful 20-year career. So she didn't publicly come out until 2017 saying, quote, finally, I can just be me, get my job done, and not carry the burden anymore. Which is all
that's all anyone wants.
You just want to do your fucking job and then go home and live your fucking life. Like,
yeah. Like that's all anyone wants.
Alyce founded the Norfolk Polyamory Group and was the lead for the, oh crap, I should have looked up how to pronounce this. Patuxent. That thing I spelled River chapter of NAVAR's LGBTQ+A advisory team. So NAVAR, or Naval Air Systems Command, is a military command within the U.S. Navy. And like my understanding, kind of a big deal. It kind of like dictates like how commanders behave and like how they lead. And you know, it's kind of like a top-down situation. So in 2022, Alyce was posthumously awarded the NAVAIR Award for Excellence in Diversity and Inclusion for her activism in supporting the LGBTQ+ and disability communities.
Yay!
So Alan M's article that I mentioned before includes remembrances from those who knew her. One person writes, quote, "I loved her dearly for almost 4 years. Not a day goes by without me feeling the absence of her in my life." While another reflects, "She was a dear friend when we were teens from 1984 to 1993, and I'm pleased that Alyce and I were able to reconnect on Facebook as adults. Always enigmatic, always smarter than me, Alyce also saw life through the prism of a young girl who lost her mother too young. I believe it was her mission in life to buoy up the world, infusing it with the same old French romantic sensibilities that held sway in her heart."
Oh.
And that is just so beautiful to me.
Yeah.
And again, this kind of makes me think what we were saying about Eli. It's like there are people you know for like a certain period in your life and you never kind of stop like rooting for them.
Yeah.
Another person wrote, "For my own experience of her as a catalyst," and she was one, "she brought me across many boundaries, intellectual, mental, and spiritual." Like, I have a feeling she strikes me as a person who kind of opens your mind to the possibilities, but lets you decide what you're going to do with that. She's not like, if you're not a chaos magic Buddhist, you are fucking wasting your life and you are the problem.
Right.
She's
and
like,
is also like willing to have those conversations with you and just be like, this is what I believe, but like, what do you believe? And like, just prompt you on like that adventure.
Yeah. So then you can take whatever, wisdom you get from her and incorporate into your life the way that works best for you.
Yeah.
You
definitely.
know, because not everyone is going to become a chaos magic Buddhist.
She's a tour guide.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I can't believe I didn't think of that. I love you so much, Kelley. I love you so much right now. One of the most common arguments against LGBTQ+ people in the military is that they are distracting and untrustworthy.
Jesus Christ.
Throughout her 20-year career,
that is the worst excuse I've ever heard.
Commander Alyce Victorine Grillet proved by example that all of those arguments are fucking false.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what else pisses me off? Like, one of the arguments against trans people in the military is that they need more money for like their medical transition. And like that takes money away from people with PTSD or like who like lost their limbs in war. And I'm like, spoiler alert, they're not getting money as it is. Exactly. Trans people are not the fucking problem.
Right. Like the amount of money you allot to the care of your veterans is the problem.
I have fought with the VA over someone's benefits. Trans people were never the barrier to that. Okay.
Exactly. It's like, don't blame them for a problem that existed before like the problem existed. Also,
if you're worried about veterans who require more medical care, why aren't you banning people who smoke?
Yeah. Or, have other kind of health complications.
Yeah. I'm just saying. I'm just fucking saying. Or like who drink too much. Liver problems. Okay. So, and those are unhealthy. Like, transitioning is healthy and normal and appropriate, for the individual. Smoking and drinking too much is not. Like, no one needs to do that. Unless you're coping in unhealthy ways, like some of us. So Alyce was diagnosed with colon cancer and died on January 4th, 2019 at only 47 years old. Like, I was reading her story and it somehow feels like so far away from her birth, but also she died like relatively young, like 2019. For me,
that's so recently.
I wish we had her through the pandemic because she's just like one of those really good people you need in the world.
Just be that nice bright light.
But also I'm just so glad she didn't have to like deal with this now and see this shit. But at the same time, she would have fought like hell.
Yeah. It would have been nice, like kind of interesting to see.
Yeah. So though she was only able to come out professionally in 2017, she has ensured that through her gravestone, everyone could know her authentic self. In fact, and this is really cool, after her diagnosis, Alyce designed her own gravestone.
That's
so the headstone, and I'll show you a picture, but the headstone, she designed it. And
that's
even
so
the
nice.
the inverted rainbow triangle. So the inverted triangle, especially in pink, what for anyone who's not aware, was used especially by the Nazis to like it was like the yellow star for LGBTQ plus people.
Yep.
A lot of people have actually taken back the inverted pink triangle, and this is one of those examples. So she has the inverted triangle, but it's a rainbow, and then it has a green circle around it, which is a symbol that like that's a safe place for LGBTQ plus people. So I'm going to show you the picture right now.
Oh, I love that. I like that, like, it's colorful and it's, you know, it's not just like a normal black and white headstone. That's amazing.
Well, it's so funny because I'm in the gay corner and I'm just like looking at all these great. I'm like, they're so unique and they're so cool. And just the fact that these individuals are declaring themselves forever in death was so incredible. And so when I was working on another story based on DC, and then I was like, oh shit, it's Pride Month. So I was looking through my photos and I'm like, I wonder what the hell Alyce is up, like what her deal is. And I found a lot more information than I thought I would. So that was really exciting. I don't think I would have ever covered this woman had I not gone to Congressional Cemetery.
That's awesome.
Which, by the way, their gift shop was closed when I went there, and I'm really mad because I wanted to get like stickers and a shirt. But they have an online store, so Christmas is coming.
For yourself, apparently.
Every day is Christmas for me when I have Facebook Marketplace. And I'm trying to cope in ways that don't involve drinking.
Yeah.
So, So I want to end this with how we can pay tribute to Alyce and what she stood for. And again, earlier we were talking about being confronted with something and not knowing what to do, like feeling like you need to do something needs to be done, but you are just so utterly powerless.
Yeah, like what are you supposed to do?
And you're looking for someone to tell you what to do and how comforting that direction can be. And I was writing these notes like before and after everything happened, and it felt just really
different.
It felt very different. It was always really powerful, but just like the lens in which I was looking through it, and the sense of legacy and honoring people. So her obituary reads, in lieu of flowers, the family asks that donations be made to outserve SLDN, which is Advancing Fairness and Equality for the LGBTQ plus military and veteran community, and the Semper Fi Fund to assist wounded veterans in all branches of the U.S. Armed Forces, or to your local LGBTQ plus LGBTQ IA. I keep wanting to add the plus.
You okay over there?
I'm so used to it. LGBTQIA charitable organization. So if you were touched by Alyce's story, if you want to do something, if you want to stand up for something in your community that is especially for peace and justice, in honor of Mark and Melissa, I recommend you do one of those things. And that's the story of Commander Alyce Victorine Grillet.
That's amazing.
And the gay corner.
She's amazing.
There were I got to show you some of the other pictures. There were, let me see if I can find the cat bench, because that was pretty, yeah. It's like a photo of two cats sitting in a window that's superimposed on this black bench, and it just says cat lovers. And then it has the people's names on it.
That's what you and Egg are going to do?
So there was another gravestone actually that had trains on the side of it.
So you're going to do a combination.
Like, this could be us. This could be us. It was interesting because this is another gravestone. So Montague Denny Meyer, U.S. Navy and SFC U.S. Army, he has the pink inverted triangle on his as well. This person has the Cheshire Cat on their gravestone, and it says a Pedro Pan Kid Thanks, Mom, for freedom.
Aww.
And the front of the gravestone is like very traditional, but then the back is just like for fun. I absolutely love that. The gay corner definitely has like some of the most amazing gravestones. I got to visit a bunch of famous gravestones in there, including Belva Ann Lockwood, who I do plan on covering in the future. Nice. I went on like a whole hunt, and I even ran into people that I like didn't know were on there. So there's Thomas Peter Lantos. And his wife, Annette Tilleman Lantos. He was the... Hold on. Okay, born in Budapest, Hungary, the only Holocaust survivor elected to the U.S. Congress in 1980.
That's cool, though.
And he founded the Congressional Human Rights Cause. Like, there is a bunch of really fascinating people buried there.
You'll have to tell us more about it at some point.
I will. Well, Kelley, I think it's time. It's time to crack open this fucking book.
For How to Be Brave.
It's been a minute. Did we leave off on... Oh, yeah.
I think we mark usually the one
we just read. Okay, yeah. So we already read Just Start. What is... Oh, we're in a new section.
Ooh, Brave Enough to Be You.
Brave Enough to Be You. The planet just really needs you to be you, okay?
Is that really what it says?
It really says
okay.
That.
I like that, actually.
I
gotta want that on a sticker. The planet just needs you to be you, okay?
Okay. I need to end everything with like an emphatic, okay? Like, you get this? Like, empowered women. Okay. All right, day 6. The lies you believe. Eve was the first woman deceived by words.
Jeez.
But not the last. I mean, as someone who's come from a toxic relationship, yes.
Like, I feel called out now.
God had said one thing, Satan said another, and Eve fell for Satan's lies. Okay. I'm going to avoid the commentary. I'm just going to read this, and then we'll talk about it. Sin and shame entered our world, and Jesus paid for it with his life. See, your struggle to separate truth from lies is something that every human wrestles with. It's hard to believe truth if your mind is flooded with confusion and false stories. And Satan is the one who is always trying to kill, steal, and destroy. Satan is a liar. I know you know that, but I want you to say it again. He is a liar. He wants to define you, label you, and stop you from being brave enough to do the work God has for you. When Satan lies to you, for instance, you've got 0 talent. Oh my God, is Satan my internal monologue?
I like that we had like the same moment of like, oh my God.
Tell me you have low self-esteem without telling me. You begin to swirl that thought around your head. She's better at this job than I am. I'm definitely the dumbest person in this office. I'm feeling very called out right now, and I don't appreciate it.
Same.
Soon, lies to yourself lead to lies about others. Have you met the new office manager? Not very smart, that one. Because you are hurting and insecure. Okay, sometimes they're not.
I don't do that one so much. I'm less of an external person.
I love to keep all that shit deep inside. I really like to inflict all that pain on myself.
Yeah.
You hear a lie, you treat it like truth, and it begins to define you like a label, and then you act out of that label. It's a vicious cycle that can be treated only by a heaping dose of truth. The real stuff. That sweet, uncut Colombian goodness. It does not say that part. That's why I love the Bible. In his word, God has already given you all the labels you need, and that's how we learn how to treat ourselves and each other. Friend, it's time to stop listening to Satan's lies and labels so you can hear the truth. So be brave. Read the story of David and Goliath. What are some labels other people gave David? Which ones were actually true? We were just talking about, so I think the whole idea of like truth and lies and what is reality it's always been relevant. It's especially relevant now. And I think it's really important to examine, okay, if I believe what someone is telling me, what is the end result? Is it that I hurt other people? Is it that I demonize other people? Or is that I accept other people? Because we were talking about like you and I grew up with the Jesus who was like, just love and accept everyone and don't be an asshole.
Right.
And like that's what I feel like the author is saying in this is like Satan's the one that tells you you're not good enough and therefore that person isn't good enough.
Yeah.
And they're taking from you and like everything that's wrong in your life is that person's fault. Mm-hmm. And that, you know, projection. And that's not true. When like, I don't know, my understanding of Catholicism was just like, just don't be a dick.
Yeah, basically.
That's the only label God has ever given me. Like I'm flawed. No argument here.
Everyone is.
But just like don't be me. Just don't be a dick. Don't hurt other people. You know? So
stop being an asshole, everybody.
Yeah. Robbie Rubin doesn't want you to be an asshole. I forgot to replace God with Robbie Rubin.
I was trying to remember the person's name. I was like,
Robbie Rubin.
The name.
Yeah, it's okay. God bless Robbie Rubin. No, I think that's really interesting where it's like, okay, if you believe what someone's telling you, what do you get out of it?
Yeah.
And
or if you hurt others because you're hurting, what
also
do you get out of it?
What is the solution? Okay, I'm going to point out white supremacy and the patriarchy are like, that's where society is built around those ideals. Am I saying that to make you hate men and especially like white men? No, I'm saying that so you can acknowledge it so we can all move forward and build something better together while recognizing the toxic elements of the past so we don't carry them forward. I'm not saying white men are bad and we should hate them. Okay?
Sure.
Now, when someone says trans people in the military are the reason that other vets are not getting health care,
that's not okay.
What happens if you believe that? You persecute trans veterans and trans people in general. Who does that help?
Yeah,
not a goddamn person except the power structure.
Well, especially when we can prove that it's abjectly false.
Again, I'm sorry. If that was the case, we wouldn't treat veterans who smoke or drink.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, fuck. Anyway. I know we've been doing the Be Brave, but Kelley, I'm very thankful for you. I'm thankful for our listeners. I'm thankful for our families.
Same.
And I'm thankful that we are here and we are able to say what we say, whether anyone's listening or not. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for listening to another episode of Whining About Herstory. Like us on Facebook at Whining About Herstory, Instagram at WAHPad.
Our website is whiningaboutherstory.com, where you can find a link to all of that Emily just mentioned, as well as our merch, a link to our Buy Me a Coffee, where you can sponsor a glass of wine for $5 or a bottle for $15, or you can join our Patreon, where we do a monthly happy hour for as little as $1 a month.
Yes.
There's also bonus content on there.
And I'll announce this at the top of the next episode too. We also have special Pride merch.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the outstanding circumstances, I have not made it live, but by the time this episode airs, it will be live, and it will be
we'll
live.
Make sure it's out there longer than this month.
It will be live through the end of July, so get on that. We've got some special Pride merch, like Herstory Pride merch, and like it comes in like some of it's in rainbows, and some of it's in black, and some of it's in white. Just like, you know, sometimes you're a monochrome girly, and sometimes you're like, I'm a rainbow girly. And live your best fucking life, because feminism is about choice, motherfuckers.
Hell yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Whining About Herstory. Also raise 5 stars wherever you listen, because it pisses off the right people. I'm Emily.
I'm Kelley.
Have an empowered day, bitches. Bye. Or as Christmas Halloween would say, bye.
Okay.
Okay.